Hi, I'm Ernie Zor, and this is Puritas Software's 51st Frequently Asked Questions video. This being the first video of a new year, I'll review a few points relative to the Ohio child support calculation in 2023. Specifically, I'll be going over 3 things that are related to version 11 of revised Ohio child support guidelines, and I'm talking about the application. Next, I'll demonstrate a technique for fixing a document when an app misbehaves, and I'll use our Puritas Springs probate program, but this technique that I'm going to show you applies to almost all of our software. And finally, again, using the probate app as an example, I'll show you how to fix a situation where your worksheet descriptions are clipped or they're running over so that they extend onto a second page. And what you're going to like best about this is that it's super easy to fix, and it's super easy to fix permanently. By the way, I watched a rerun on YouTube the other day of a David Letterman interview with Jerry Seinfeld, and during the interview they mentioned that analytics indicate that people only watch a YouTube video for 5 minutes. They referred to it as the internet firewall. It's unnerving to video creators like Puritas Springs because it means that if you create a 30-minute video, 25 minutes of it are not usually viewed. And here I am using up one of my 5 minutes, and I didn't even get started yet, so better get going. So let's get going with the child support items. I've got the child support app on my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. And the first of the 3 items is going to be ensuring that the American Recovery Act checkbox on line 21 is unchecked, and that is unless you're working on a calculation related to 2021, which you're probably not anymore since we're going to be in 2023 when you're watching this video. I'll scroll down to line 21. Where's it at? Here it is. Use the American Rescue Plan Act values for 2021. You want to make sure that this checkbox is unchecked. If it's not unchecked, then you want to, let me say that again. If it's checked, you probably want to just not only fix it in the form that you're working on, but you want to fix it in the default file. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with the default file, we do have a video, a short 5-minute video on the default file. But if you just keep your program up to date, you should find that the new default file that we provide with the program in 2023, the box is already unchecked, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, point 2, if you get your free updates like you should, you'll notice that Ohio's minimum wage has increased on the first of the year to $10.10 per hour. I believe that that's something. No, I don't think that's something you can check you can fix in the default file. You really want to get the update. Otherwise, you'll be doing it manually every time you run across that situation. So, bottom line, get the updates. And the third thing I wanted to mention is your free update will handle the calculation of the child care credit a little differently in split parental cases. It's kind of complicated. If you've ever looked, there you go, look at line 21. If you counted all the fields in line 21, I don't know, what the heck you think? There's probably 50 fields in there. So I'm not going to go into what's different about it. Only say get the update, and that way you won't have to know all the complicated details. So that's it for the child support program, and I want to let's go to the probate program, because that's what I wanted to show you too. Where is it? There. Nope, that's child support. This is probate. There we go. Here's what happened. One day I was talking to a caller, and he complained. He said, hey, I can't get the trailer checkbox on Form 9C to stay checked. He says, every time I check it, I get off the field, and it unchecks itself again. Let's go to Form 9C. That's for transferring motor vehicles and other things. And there it is. And this is the box he was talking about. He would check the trailer box, and then as soon as he tabbed off of it, it would uncheck. Well, he was blaming himself, and I didn't feel it was right to let him go on blaming himself, because it was a program issue. And as you see right now, I tabbed off the trailer and it stayed checked. So that's fixed. And I want you to make sure you keep your program updated, because no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to get that trailer checkbox to check unless you get the update. And there is, there is a little trick that you can do. Let's print this thing, and I want to show you something. I'm going to print this form. Oh, I've got the dark theme on Windows. No big deal. Let's say that I wanted to get the watercraft checkbox checked and it just wouldn't check. What you can do is you can find a checked box somewhere on the form, hopefully. Yeah, there would always be. Motor vehicles, I think, checks almost by default. But what you can do is you can highlight the checkbox, Control C to copy, then highlight the watercraft checkbox, Control V to print, and look at that. I checked the box. Doing it any other way is pretty tough, because while the whole form, I think, is in Arial narrow, the check boxes are in wingdings. So fixing them this way is probably the easiest way. And now I'm getting an empty one, and I'm pasting it over this one that I presumably don't want, and there it is. And you can do that sort of thing, not just with check boxes, but when you're in the preview print mode, you can fix anything on a form or change anything on a form. Even if it's not fixing it, you can change it. And, I've got as a programmer, I usually like to see all these lines here so I could see how the program is, or how the form is formatted. But if you go to the layout and you select view grid lines, you could turn them on and off. And if this was a white background, you would see that this form is exactly like you would expect to see it on paper. In fact, I can get rid of the paragraph marks too by going over there. And now you don't see it. Now you see it exactly as it would be printed out. Again, with the exception that this dark background, when I set it up for viewing today, I didn't realize that all of the forms would be like that as well. So sorry about that. Anyway, when he called it to my attention, I fixed the program later that afternoon. But he didn't need to wait because of the workaround that I just showed you. So anyway, let's get rid of that. Let's go on to the next item I wanted to talk about, which I mentioned already. Which is probate text clipping. And I guess what I'll do is I'm going to open the test file. Leaks. You want to save your changes? No. And we'll go to it. This text clipping thing usually only happens on two forms: Schedule of Assets 6.1 and Form 13.1, Receipts and Disbursements. Let me go to Receipts and Disbursements, I guess. And what we're talking about, nothing on that page. Got to go to the next one. Usually it's going to happen in these long ones. And what you'll see is that, like where it says a first entire interest in real estate located, it might break off at the word located, and 100 at 153 is actually missing. Or another thing is that these line breaks, it might, getting back to here, it might break at located, and at 153 is on the next line. Well, you can imagine what happens then. It pushes everything down and pushes the bottom of the page to the top of a second page, and then puts the rest of that page as blank, and that's not what you want. Now, this doesn't happen on very many systems, but it is worth knowing how to fix it just in case. And the way you do it, very easy stuff. I told you it was going to be easy, and it is. I just go to Options, Adjust Memo Font, and you see by default this is normally set at 75. I'm going to set it to 60, and look at the line breaks here. The at 153, it's breaking after 153. Let's see what happens when I move it to 60 or 61. I'll refresh the page. Okay, you see what happened? It squeezed the whole column down so that when you print it, not just when you look at it on the screen, but when you print it, it'll fit, and it won't bad wrap, and it won't clip. And that's it. And you might be wondering, what, do I have to do that every time I'm printing an inventory? No, you don't, because the program is going to save that setting. I'm going to put it back to the way it was because my system is just fine. And your system probably will be too, but if it isn't, so I'll put it back to 75. But the point is that when I shut the program down and start it back up, it's going to have remembered the value that you told it to keep. And so, hey, one more thing I was going to mention, and this happened around Christmas time. I'm sure you know that Amazon and eBay, as stores or warehouses, they really don't exist. They're really just clearing houses for many or most of the items. Now, I know there are warehouses for Amazon scattered all over the United States, but there are still plenty of items that Amazon sells that Amazon has almost nothing to do with. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but what gets me is that when you try to look up the vendor's business address or the real telephone number, these things are protected like they were military secrets. Anyway, a few times, and again, this was around Christmas, I expected the usual speedy Amazon delivery. And when there was a lengthy delay and I did some detective work, I learned that the vendor was in China. Not that there's a bad thing with China, although maybe there is. But here's a hint. Examine the seller's name, even if you can't find anything about the location or anything of the vendor. Examine that vendor's name, because a lot of times you can tell by the website name if it's foreign. Chinese website names usually have something that kind of sounds foreign. So the words of wisdom that I'm leaving you with is if you're looking at the website and you're trying to figure out where's this thing at, hey, if the website name is eggfuyang.com, this is probably coming from China, so be prepared for an extra long delivery, because the web page usually hides the fact of, or Amazon hides the fact of where the vendor's really located at. That's it. Before I go, I feel obliged to mention that although we prepare our FAQ videos, especially for law offices, many of these apply to businesses and individuals, so take a look at it and see if it's got something that you will find interesting. And finally, if you found this video interesting, click the like button. What you do is you boost the video and you support our channel. And if you really want to hop on board, click subscribe and you'll be notified when each of our monthly emails is published. So thank you for taking the time to watch. I really appreciate it. I'm sure Puritas Springs does too. So until next time, stay healthy and happy, and I wish you all the best.